Howdy folks, and welcome to World of Warships Legends with the mighty Jingles. This isn't the first time I've covered the console version of World of Warships, but things have moved on a little bit since the last time I put a video out on this subject. And there was something that was very, very important that I completely neglected to mention in the previous video. We'll come on to that in just a moment, but for those of you who were unaware of exactly what World of Warships Legends was about, it's obviously very, very similar to World of Warships on the PC, except for console. And in the same way that World of Tanks Mercenaries on the console is similar to World of Tanks on PC, but with some fairly substantial differences, that's pretty much the case here in World of Warships Legends as well. Probably the biggest and most obvious difference between the two different versions of the game is that here on console the tech trees have been compressed, and by that I mean when you're playing on PC you go from tier 1 up to tier 10. When you're playing here on the console you go from tier 1 up to tier 7. Now what that does not mean is that they've simply drawn a line at tier 7 and deleted everything that existed beyond that. Instead, what they've done is they've looked at the existing tech trees on PC, they've removed all of the tier 1s to begin with, then they've looked at most of the higher tier ships and pretty much removed everything that didn't actually exist. So there's no HMS Conqueror, there's no USS Montana, there's no HMS Minotaur, there's no Grosser Kurfürst. Instead, what they've done is, well, they've completely binned all of the tier 1 cruiser starter ships from PC, and then they've cherry-picked amongst the tier 1 to 9 PC ships that actually existed, and they've spread them out between tiers 1 and 7. So the USS Arizona here, for example, which is a tier 6 battleship on PC, is a tier 5 battleship here on console. Pensacola over there, tier 5 cruiser here on console. The Fuso, the New Mexico, these are all tier 5s in the console version of World of Warships. Another fairly important difference that you may have noticed if you've been paying attention to the top of the screen is the fact that there are only 9 players on each team, not 12, which is of course what you'd be used to if you've been playing World of Warships on PC. Now at this point, of course, all of the... oh crap, oh those torpedoes look very... oh. 3 of them? Hooray for the USS Arizona's 39% torpedo damage reduction. That could have been a lot worse. Would have been a lot worse if it had been in the Fuso. Anyway, yes. So, yes, 9 players per team. I have no doubt that at this point all of the proud card-carrying members of the PC gaming master race are going, typical console peasants, short attention spans. And there's probably a certain element of truth to that. It's not unusual for console ports of PC games to have a much faster gameplay loop. You see it in World of Tanks on console, it's exactly the same here in World of Warships on console. These games are designed to be played with comfort in mind. Sitting on the couch in front of the TV with a controller in your hand. And I do have to say that even though the experience of controlling a game with a gamepad is mostly alien to me, but I definitely found it much easier to get to grips with than I was expecting. Aided, I'm sure in no small part, by the fact that the very nature of the gameplay is kind of slow-paced. I certainly found this a lot easier to get to grips with than, for example, World of Tanks Mercenaries on PlayStation 4. And while at the moment I'm definitely better in a battleship, because it's slower than, for example, a destroyer, and there are still things that catch me out about the control system, I'm particularly bad at deciding which way to turn the joypad when I'm not facing in the direction of the ship's travel, which has caused me to accidentally steer into rather than away from torpedoes that have been chasing me on more than one occasion. But it's a learning experience. I mean, I was particularly terrible at Red Dead Redemption 2 when I first started playing that, but eventually with a bit of practice I started to become reasonably proficient at that as well, and I'm sure it'll be no different here. Now, the fact that the tech trees do only go from tier 1 to tier 7, and the fact that there are only at most 9 players per team, does raise one potentially contentious issue. Now, on PC, once you get to tier 5, there's a 2-tier matchmaking spread. And while there's certainly an argument to be made against that even on PC, it kind of works. Because even if you have somebody who's particularly good in World of Warships PC in a top tier ship, While they're still certainly capable of exerting an influence on the outcome of the battle, the amount of influence that they have is mitigated by the sheer number of enemy ships on the opposing team. Throw enough potatoes at the wall and even a super unicum is going to come unstuck. Unfortunately, here on console, there are only 9 players per team, and if there was a 2-tier matchmaking spread and somebody particularly good was in a top-tier ship on the enemy team, they would be able to exert a disproportionate amount of influence on the outcome of the match. And this is something that I completely failed to mention in my previous World of Warships Legends video. And it's fairly important because here on console there's only ever a +1 matchmaking spread. So at most tier 5s will only have to fight tier 6s, tier 6s will only have to fight tier 7s. You'll never have to fight anybody more than 1 tier higher than you. It's not the only major difference, of course. You'll also never have to fight an aircraft carrier. Well, maybe not never, but certainly not for the foreseeable future. There are no aircraft carriers in World of Warships Legends. Now, that doesn't mean there are never going to be aircraft carriers in World of Warships Legends, but at the moment they have no plans to include them. It's just battleships, cruisers and destroyers. I have no doubt whatsoever, of course, that the Legends developers are paying very, very careful attention to what's currently happening on PC with the aircraft carrier rework, because, well, let's face it, it would not be difficult whatsoever to control an aircraft carrier with a gamepad. So translating the new aircraft carrier gameplay onto console would almost certainly be a minor technical issue. But I'm pretty sure that the developers are paying more attention to how the carrier rework has been accepted by the World of Warships PC community before they make any plans to go ahead and introduce that same style of gameplay. Oh crap, that's a lot of torpedoes. Well, this is why I'm backing up, of course, yep, because I knew the Auber was going to have launched torpedoes at me. But yes, as far as carrier gameplay is concerned, I think Legends developers are more concerned with should we do it rather than can we do it, because it seems pretty obvious that they can do it. It wouldn't be technically difficult at all to translate PC carrier gameplay into console carrier gameplay. I suspect that PC carriers will be just as easy to control with a gamepad as they would with a mouse and keyboard. The technical issue really seems to be a non-issue. It's more a question of should we do it, how well is the community going to take to it, and for that they're going to be keeping a close eye on developments on the PC. Or who knows, perhaps they're also paying close attention to the comments section of videos uploaded to YouTube on the subject by certain video game influencers, such as yours truly. I hate that, by the way. I mean, yeah, not that I can have an influence, but the fact that that's what I'm referred to as by the game developers, an influencer. I mean, it was bad enough when I was a content creator. How's that for a sterile-sounding label? But, yeah, influencer, jeez. And yeah, it's true. I mean, it's not so much that I can have an influence, although I suppose I can, but it's also that you lot can have an influence based on the sheer number of you that are probably going to be watching this video. So if you have any opinion either way about carriers, for example, in the console version of World of Warships, that's what the comment section is for, because I'll guarantee you the developers will be paying rather close attention to it. So, comment section down below, you know what to do. Personally, and of course, you know, your mileage may vary, while I don't have anything in particular against aircraft carriers, I'd just as soon not see them in the console version of World of Warships. I like the console version of I like the PC version of World of Warships as well, obviously. But I like that there's less for me to be concerned about when I'm playing the console version. It isn't as high maintenance as the PC version. There are less enemy ships for you to keep track of. There are no aircraft for you to keep track of, and I kind of like that. And again, this kind of ties into the whole nature of console versus PC gameplay. The fact that on the console it is more immediate, it is stripped down for speed. Yeah, I know all the PC gamers are going to be saying, dumbed down, you mean, Jingles? Well, yeah, it is, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's a different kind of gaming experience, and I just realised that there were 2 of us, only one of him. So I don't actually need to survive this in order to win. So you know what that means, don't you, boys and girls? Ramming speed! Winner! So, yeah, that was fun. Well, that's all well and good for you, Jingles, but when can we mere mortals expect to have a go? Well, that's a bloody good question, and I'm very glad you asked. Today, the 7th of March, World of Warships Legends should by now, otherwise I'm in a whole bunch of trouble, should by now have announced the forthcoming number 2 beta test weekend. Should be happening Friday to Monday, the 22nd to the 25th of March this month. That, of course, is when I will be in St. Petersburg, having myself put into World of Warships PC as a playable captain. So they'd better have a couple of spare gamepads for when I'm there, between voice recording sessions. Anyway, I am currently in HMS Vanguard, which, as we all know, is a Tier 8 premium British battleship, except not on console, where it is a non-premium tech tree Tier 7 British battleship. It sits at the top of the British tech tree alongside other famous Tier 7 ships like the USS Iowa, the USS Fletcher, the Japanese Amagi and Mogami. Yeah, it does take a bit of getting used to. But I like the fact that all of these ships actually existed. I don't actually have a problem with them putting paper designs into World of Warships PC. Because I accept that in a lot of cases, once you get past Tier 8, they have to start making stuff up. I mean, the USS Montana never existed. German battleship design pretty much stopped at the Bismarck for obvious reasons. They kind of ran out of steel, and everything that they put to sea got sunk, was forced to stay in harbour. The Yamato existed, the Gearing existed, the Shimakaze existed, but the Conqueror didn't, the Lion didn't, the Grosser Kurfürst and the Frederick the Great didn't. And when I say didn't exist, I mean they were never commissioned, they never put to sea. While there are very few, if any, complete fantasy designs in World of Warships, once you get past Tier 8s, most of the ships that you play only ever really existed in design or concept form. You don't get that on Legends. All of these ships were built, all of them put to sea. Not all of them fought, but they all existed. I mean, the Vanguard was built, didn't last very long. The age of battleships was well over by the time this thing even entered the construction phase, but they did build it. I'm not sure how much I like it though. I mean, it's fairly meh on PC, and it's not bad here in Legends. I think it's a stronger ship in Legends at Tier 7 than it is as a Tier 8 Premium World of Warships PC, but... well, my god, those turrets turn slowly. It takes nearly 65 seconds. Yeah, more than a minute to rotate the turrets 180 degrees. The ship will easily outturn the turrets. Packs a fairly hefty punch though. If I've accurately judged the Baltimore speed, we'll soon see exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah, well, only the one Citadel. I'll have to settle for, what was that, 13,000 damage? If I can get the guns reloaded. It's got a fast reload to compensate for that. It's a ship that you definitely have to plan your moves well in advance with. Come on. Come on. It's turned away slightly. Elevated my shots. How many is it going to take? Oh, no, I'll have to give him the other 2 turrets as well. I was hoping not to have to. I was trying to save them for this Vanguard. Damn it, he got away with it. So how does a Vanguard stand up against another Vanguard when it's given broadside like that? Yeah, that was actually very underwhelming. Let's give him the front turrets. Because one of the big downsides of the Vanguard on PC is just how easy it is to Citadel. And what you can't do on console is have a look at the armour model, at least not yet, in the way that you can on PC. So I can't actually tell you how big the Citadel of the console Vanguard is, but I don't appear to have any trouble hitting it at this kind of range. But the armour-piercing shells appear to work reasonably well. The fire chance on the high explosive shells is also quite interesting. It's not like on PC, where, for example, you get to the Lion at Tier 9 and the Conqueror at Tier 10 and they have an absolutely ridiculous 46% fire chance. with their high explosive shells. The Vanguard here has a fairly good chance of setting a fire. I think it's about 34%. But it's actually the King George V at tier 6, one tier below the Vanguard, that has the absurd fire chance, 41%, with its 14-inch guns. See if I can ruin that Iowa's day as well. No Citadel, but plenty of AP damage. Oh, another Baltimore coming over. And I have guns loaded, but, well, I'm not even turning them 180 degrees. That was only 90 degrees, and it was just taking forever for the turrets to get around. This, by the way, is with a commander unlocked as well, with the various different skills that increase the turret rotation. Highly recommended on this ship. It does make a difference, but the turrets are still incredibly slow. It's like the old Warspite on PC when it was first introduced. That thing took a minute to rotate its turrets as well. Oh, here comes the Iowa. Okay, I've thrown the ship into full reverse so as to not actually get past the island before I can get the turrets around. I've now sent a telegram to the various different turret captains. If you wouldn't mind swinging the guns around, please. Looks like the first telegram's just arrived. Oh, not sure about that dispersion. Okay, the telegram to the gun captain in the forward turrets appears to have made it there, and bingo, there we go. Fantastic stuff. Jolly good. So glad you could all turn up. Like I said, it does take a while to swing these turrets around, but the results, once you get them there, are, I'm sure you'll agree, pretty satisfying. Anyway, that battle came to a successful conclusion. Let's take a look at another new thing in World of Warships Legends. Well, not specifically new to World of Warships Legends. The feature that I'm about to talk about has been around in this game for quite some time, but it is completely different to the way it works in World of Warships on PC. And I'm talking about the commander system. I did go over this whole system in much greater detail on my previous World of Warships Legends video, so today we're just going to cover the most important points. Here is my commander. Yep, I only have one of them. Admiral Sir Andrew Brown Cunningham, the famous commander of the British Mediterranean Fleet during World War II. So at the moment I have exactly one commander for all of my British ships. Old ABC here. But I've got more than one British ship, so how the hell is this going to work? Well, he's not tied to any one ship in particular. I can stick him on whichever ship I fancy taking into battle next, swap him around to my heart's content, at no cost. Oh yes, Jingles, but what use is that secondary gun battery skill going to be if I want to put him on a destroyer? Well, that's a very good point. I'm glad you raised it, and the simple answer is, then change it. There's a rank 1 skill up there with the torpedo icon on it. That increases the range of your torpedoes. Just pick that instead if you plan on putting to sea in a destroyer in your next battle. But what's that going to cost? Nothing. Just pick the skill for the ship that you're about to play. Simple as that. If you plan on taking a battleship out for your next game, then pick the relevant battleship skills. Cruiser, pick the cruiser skills. Destroyer, pick the destroyer skills. And you don't have to keep reaching into your pocket for gold, credits or experience every time you do it. Now I do have to admit that these skills are not looking particularly good. At the moment I've got the rank 2 steer clear skill, which only gives me a 2% bonus to my rudder shift, but ABC here was only a rank 2 commander. I've now blown some commander experience and promoted him to rank 3. And that's increased the base values of all of the skills that I've already selected, as well as opened up the 3rd tier of skills to choose from. So what do we have? Decrease incoming damage. Increase main battery traverse speed. Yes, we're having that. See if I can get the Vanguard's turret traverse down to less than 65 seconds. There's a limit to just how far I can keep promoting him with commander experience though, and that limit is rank 6. But don't forget, every time he gains a rank, all of the skills that you've chosen also improve. Once you've gotten past rank 6, you're going to start needing promotion orders. What the hell are those? Oh, don't worry about it. You'll earn them simply by completing missions and playing the game. Remember, this is a console title. The last thing they're going to do is make things more complicated. Okay. That's just not the nature of how these things are supposed to be enjoyed. And that, in a nutshell, is World of Warships Legends for the Xbox and PlayStation 4. It's a lot like World of Warships on the PC, and if you do already play World of Warships PC, you'll definitely have a head start over all of those console peasants who are likely to be flocking to this game in droves when it is released on the 16th of April. Oh yes, that's right, the game actually has a release date. As well as the beta test weekend, 22nd to the 25th of March, the game's going into full release next month on the 16th of April. Full details for both the beta test and the open release are almost certainly, or hopefully, otherwise I'm in serious trouble, on the World of Warships Legend website by now. And you can find a link to that down below in the video description. I hope you've enjoyed today's video, and as always, take care, and I'll catch you next time.
We've destroyed an enemy cruiser.